The moment Cecilia said the words, the air in our tiny Brooklyn apartment turned to ice. You're, what? Lesbian? Like actually into girls? Her voice cracked on the last syllable, not from confusion, but from something sharper, disgust mixed with fear. I had rehearsed this conversation for months, staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror while brushing my teeth, practicing the calm delivery. But nothing prepared me for the way her face changed, the way the best friend I'd known since freshman year of high school recoiled as if I'd confessed to murder. I stood there in the middle of our living room, the late afternoon sun slanting through the blinds in harsh stripes across the hardwood floor. Yeah, I said, forcing my voice steady. I've known for a while. I needed to tell you. You're my person, Cece. She laughed, but it was a brittle, humorless sound. Your person? Stella, we've shared everything. Sleepovers, secrets, boyfriends, God, remember when we both dated those idiot twins in senior year? And now you're telling me none of that was real? That you've been looking at me differently this whole time. The accusation hit like a slap. No, never like that. Not you. It's not about you being the reason. It's about me finally being honest. But she was already backing away, arms crossed tight over her chest as if to shield herself from contamination. I need to think, she muttered. I can't do this right now. She grabbed her coat and left without another word. The door clicked shut with the finality of a judge's gavel. That was 7 years ago. I didn't hear from her again after that night. No texts, no calls, no awkward run-ins at mutual friends' weddings. She ghosted me so thoroughly it felt surgical. I spent the first year replaying every moment, wondering if I'd misread her, if I'd pushed too hard. The second year anger took over. I blocked her on everything, told myself she wasn't worth the pain. By year 3, I'd moved on enough to date, to build a life. I got a promotion at the marketing firm, bought a small condo in Queens, adopted a rescue dog named Luna who slept on my feet every night. I told myself the wound had scarred over. Then last Tuesday the doorbell rang at 7:14 p.m. I opened it expecting the delivery guy with my Thai food. Instead, Cecilia stood there, soaked from the sudden spring rain, blonde hair plastered to her face, eyes red-rimmed and swollen. She looked thinner, older, the effortless beauty we'd both envied in college now etched with exhaustion. Behind her, a black umbrella lay abandoned on the welcome mat. Stella, she whispered. Her voice trembled. I need to talk to you. Please. I should have slammed the door. Every instinct screamed at me to protect the peace I'd fought so hard to build. But curiosity, or maybe the ghost of old loyalty, made me step aside. She walked in like she was entering a crime scene, eyes darting around the unfamiliar space. Luna trotted over, sniffed her cautiously, then backed away with a low growl. Cecilia sank onto the edge of the couch without being invited. I'm pregnant, she said flatly. The words landed like stones in still water. I stared at her stomach, barely rounded under her wet sweater, and felt my throat close. Congratulations. I managed, the word tasting like ash. She shook her head. It's not. It's complicated. The father, he's not in the picture. He never was really. It was a mistake. A one-night thing after too much wine at a work event. But that's not why I'm here. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded ultrasound printout, and placed it on the coffee table between us. The grainy image showed a tiny profile, a perfect curve of spine. I kept thinking about you, she continued, voice cracking. Every doctor's appointment, every time I felt it move. I kept wishing you were there. Not like that. Just as my friend. The one person who always knew what to say when everything fell apart. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You threw me away, Cecilia. You looked at me like I was diseased. You disappeared. 7 years. And now you show up because you're scared and alone. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I know I don't deserve this. But I was terrified back then. My family, my mom especially, she raised us in that evangelical bubble. If she found out I was even friends with someone gay, she'd have cut me off. I panicked. I chose safety over you. It was the worst mistake of my life. I felt the old rage rise, hot and familiar. You didn't just choose safety. You chose to make me feel like garbage. Like our entire friendship was tainted because I finally admitted who I am. She nodded, wiping her face with shaking hands. I hate who I was. I've spent years in therapy trying to forgive myself. But I can't raise this baby alone knowing I destroyed the one relationship that ever felt real. I stared at the ultrasound again. The little blob had no idea what chaos surrounded its existence. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. She looked up, eyes pleading. I don't know. Forgiveness? A second chance? Or maybe just someone to hold my hand at the next appointment. I'm due in 5 months. I have no one. The silence stretched. Luna whined softly from the corner. I stood up. I need time. You can't just walk back in and expect everything to reset. She rose too, nodding. I understand. I'll go. But please, think about it. I'm staying at the Marriott on 34th. Room 1214. If you want to talk, text me. Or don't. I won't push. She left as quietly as she'd arrived, the door closing with the same soft click that had ended us years before. I stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to the rain drum against the windows. My chest ached in a way it hadn't in years, not just anger but something deeper, more dangerous. Regret? Pity? Or worse, the faint, flickering possibility that some part of me still cared. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the balcony with Luna curled in my lap, staring at the city lights, wondering how a single conversation could unravel everything I'd built. The next morning I called in sick to work. My boss didn't question it. I'd never taken a mental health day before. I spent the hours pacing my apartment, replaying Cecilia's visit in excruciating detail. The way her hand shook when she set down the ultrasound. The raw desperation in her voice. The fact that she was carrying a child, alone, and had chosen my doorstep out of everyone in New York. By noon, curiosity won over caution. I texted her. Meet me at the coffee shop on 7th Avenue, 2 p.m. neutral ground. She arrived early, already seated at a corner table with 2 lattes waiting. Her hair was dry now, pulled into a neat ponytail, makeup covering the dark circles. She looked like the old Cecilia, polished, put together, but her eyes betrayed her. Thank you for coming, she said softly as I sat. I didn't smile. I'm not here to forgive you. I'm here because I need answers. Why now? Why me? She wrapped her hands around her mug. Because you're the only person who ever saw me clearly. Even when I was pretending to be perfect, you called me on my bullshit. And because I've spent years regretting what I did. Not just to you but to myself. I married a guy 2 years after we stopped talking. Mark. Nice guy, stable job, wanted kids. I thought if I did everything right, the guilt would go away. It didn't. No. She swallowed. We tried for a baby for 3 years. IVF specialist, the whole nightmare. Nothing worked. Then one night I got drunk at a conference and, well, you know the rest. Mark found out. He filed for divorce the next week. Said he couldn't raise a child that wasn't his. My family, they're still in Ohio, they think the baby is his. I haven't told them the truth yet. I raised an eyebrow. So you're hiding from everyone. Pretty much. She gave a weak laugh. I'm a coward, Stella. Always have been. The honesty disarmed me more than any apology could. I sipped my coffee, letting the silence settle. I dated someone seriously last year, I said finally. Her name was Maya. Graphic designer. We were good together. But she wanted marriage, kids, the whole package. I couldn't give her that, not yet. Maybe not ever. We broke up 6 months ago. Cecilia nodded slowly. I'm sorry. Don't be. It wasn't your fault. I paused. But it made me realize how much your rejection shaped me. I spent years convinced that being honest would cost me everything. So I kept parts of myself locked away, even with people who claimed to love me. Her eyes filled again. I did that to you. God, Stella, I'm so sorry. I looked away, toward the street where people hurried past under umbrellas. Sorry doesn't fix 7 years. I know. We sat in heavy silence until the barista called another order. Finally I spoke. I'll go to one appointment with you. Just one. After that I decide. Her face lit with fragile hope. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. The first ultrasound was 3 days later. I met her at the clinic on the Upper East Side. A sleek place that smelled like expensive candles and antiseptic. In the dim exam room, the technician spread gel across Cecilia's stomach. The screen flickered to life. There, the tech said, pointing. Strong heartbeat. Everything looks perfect. Cecilia's hand found mine without asking. Her fingers were cold, trembling. I didn't pull away. Afterward, in the waiting room, she turned to me. Did you feel it? That little life. I nodded. Yeah, it's real. She smiled through tears. I want to name her Harper. After Harper Lee. We read To Kill a Mockingbird together in 10th grade, remember? You said it was the only book that made you cry. I remembered. I remembered everything. That night, back home, I cried for the first time in years. Not from anger, but from the ache of what we'd lost and the terrifying possibility of what we might rebuild. The appointments became routine. Every 2 weeks, I'd meet Cecilia at the clinic. We'd sit in silence during the scans, listen to the heartbeat, watch the measurements grow. Between visits, we texted careful, neutral messages about doctor recommendations, baby names, crib brands. Nothing personal, nothing risky. But the walls were cracking. One evening in July, after a particularly long day, she invited me to her hotel room for takeout. I can't keep eating alone, she said. And the room service sucks. I went. The suite was spacious and personal. Beige walls, king bed. A small sitting area overlooking Midtown. Takeout boxes from a Thai place littered the coffee table. Cecilia wore an oversized t-shirt that stretched over her growing belly. She looked softer, more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. We ate in relative silence until she set her fork down. I have to tell my parents soon, she said. Before I start showing too much. They're coming to visit next month. And I don't know how. They'll ask about Mark. They'll want to meet the father. She trailed off. They'll judge you, I finished. She nodded. Worse than they judged you back then. At least with you they never knew. With me they'll see the evidence. I leaned back. What do you want me to say? That it's okay? That they'll understand? No. I want you to tell me what I should do. You're the only one who's ever been brave enough to face the consequences. The words stung because they were true. I'd faced rejection from her, from others, and kept going. She'd hidden. You tell them the truth, I said quietly. All of it. The divorce. The one-night stand. The baby. If they love you, they'll stay. If they don't, you'll survive. You have resources. You have a career. You have options. She looked at me, eyes searching. Do I have you? The question hung between us like smoke. I stood up. I don't know yet. But I didn't leave right away. We watched an old movie on the hotel TV, something mindless with explosions and car chases. Halfway through, her head dropped to my shoulder. I froze. I'm sorry, she murmured, starting to pull away. I caught her hand. Stay. We didn't speak after that. She fell asleep against me, breath even, hand resting on her belly. I sat there until my arm went numb, staring at the flickering screen, feeling the weight of 7 lost years and the fragile threat of something new. The next morning she woke embarrassed, apologizing profusely. I told her it was fine. But it wasn't fine. It was terrifying. Weeks passed. Her belly grew rounder. We started walking in Central Park on weekends, slow loops around the reservoir, talking about nothing and everything. She told me about her job in publishing, how she climbed the ladder while ignoring the emptiness inside. I told her about my dog, my promotion, the way Maya had left because I couldn't commit. One Sunday in August, as we sat on a bench watching joggers pass, she said, I think I'm falling in love with you again. Not the same way. Deeper. Because now I know what losing you costs. My heart stuttered. Cecilia. I know it's unfair. I know I hurt you. But I can't pretend anymore. I looked at her, really looked. The woman who'd once been my entire world, now carrying new life, asking for a chance to rebuild. I need time, I said. She nodded. I'll wait. But time was running out. Her parents' visit loomed. And with it, the moment of truth. Cecilia's parents arrived on a crisp September morning. I wasn't invited to the reunion dinner, but she texted me updates like battle reports. Mom cried when she saw the belly. Dad asked about Mark. She told them the marriage was over. They pressed for details. She gave them half-truths, irreconcilable differences, stress from infertility. They bought it for now. But the next day her mother found an old photo in Cecilia's phone. Us arms around each other at a college party, cheek to cheek, smiling like nothing could touch us. The confrontation happened in the hotel lobby. Cecilia called me afterward, voice shaking. They asked if you were still in my life. I said yes. Mom said. She said she always knew you were a bad influence. That I should cut ties again. For the baby's sake. I felt sick. What did you say? I told her no. That you're the only real friend I have left. She hung up on me. That night she showed up at my door again, suitcase in hand. They left early. Said they couldn't support my choices. Mom called me selfish. Dad just stared like I was a stranger. I let her in. She collapsed on the couch, sobbing. I held her, awkward at first, then tighter. Luna watched from the doorway, tail low. I'm going to be a single mom, she whispered. And I ruined my family for it. No, I said fiercely. You ruined nothing. They chose prejudice over their daughter. That's on them. She looked up at me, mascara streaked. Will you stay? Even if it's just as friends. I brushed hair from her face. I'm not going anywhere. The next weeks blurred. I helped her find an apartment, small but bright, in my neighborhood. We painted the nursery together, pale yellow with white trim. She bought tiny clothes, folded them obsessively. I cooked dinners, rubbed her feet when they swelled. We argued about baby names, laughed at bad reality TV, fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously like home. One evening in October, as leaves turned gold outside her window, she kissed me. It wasn't dramatic, no fireworks, no sweeping music. Just her hand on my cheek, tentative, asking permission. I answered by closing the distance. The kiss tasted like salt and second chances. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. But we didn't stop. The romance grew slowly. Hand-holding during walks, quiet nights tangled on the couch, whispered confessions in the dark. No rush. No pressure. Just two women learning to trust again. Then came the day Harper was born. Labor started at 3 a.m. Cecilia called me first. I drove through red lights to get to her. In the delivery room, she gripped my hand so hard I thought bones would break. Hours of pain, encouragement, tears. When Harper arrived, tiny, red-faced, screaming, the world narrowed to that moment. Cecilia held her daughter, looked at me through exhausted eyes and said, I want you here. Always. I kissed her forehead. I'm here. The first months with Harper were chaos and wonder. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, the sweet milky smell of newborn skin. Cecilia and I moved in together. My condo was bigger, closer to parks. We became a unit. Two moms, one biological, one chosen, one baby, one dog who tolerated being dressed in tiny outfits. But peace is fragile. Cecilia's parents didn't call. Not once. She sent photos anyway, Harper's first smile, first tooth, hoping for a crack in their silence. Nothing. One afternoon in March, a letter arrived. From her mother. I watched Cecilia read it at the kitchen table, face draining of color. They want to meet Harper, she said quietly. But only if I come back to the right path. They think you're the reason I chose this life. I felt the old wound reopen. And what do you think? She looked at me, eyes fierce. I think they're wrong. I think I chose love, messy, complicated love, over fear. But I also think Harper deserves grandparents. We argued for days. I wanted to protect our family from their judgment. She wanted to give them a chance to change. In the end, we compromised. One supervised visit in public, no promises. The meeting happened at a cafe near Central Park. Cecilia's parents arrived stiff, dressed like they were attending a funeral. Her mother stared at me like I was contagious. Her father barely looked up from his coffee. Harper gurgled happily in her stroller, oblivious. They asked questions, polite, probing. Who handled nights? Who paid bills? Was this permanent? Cecilia answered calmly. Stella is my partner. We're raising Harper together. This is our family. Her mother flinched at the word partner. We just want what's best for our granddaughter, her father said. Cecilia's voice hardened. Then respect her mother's. They left after 30 minutes, promising to think about it. They never called again. That night, Cecilia cried in my arms. I tried. You did more than enough. We held each other tighter after that. The rejection from her family solidified something between us, unbreakable. But shadows lingered. I started doubting. Was I enough? Could I be the stable parent Harper needed? Cecilia caught me staring at adoption papers one evening. You're thinking about stepping back, she said. No, I'm thinking about making it official. If you'll have me. She stared. You want to adopt her? If the law allows it. If you want it. Tears welled. Yes. God, yes. We filed the paperwork. Months of home visits, background checks, court dates. Through it all we fought about money, about sleep schedules, about whose turn it was to handle tantrums. But we fought fair. We apologized. We chose each other every day. Years passed in the quiet rhythm of family life. Harper grew into a bright, curious girl. Dark curls like Cecilia's, my stubborn streak. She called us both mommy, no distinction needed. Luna passed peacefully at 12. We buried her in the backyard with tears and stories. Cecilia published a memoir. Anonymous at first, then under her name. It detailed her journey from fear to acceptance, from betrayal to redemption. It sold modestly but touched lives. Letters arrived from women who'd cut off friends like I had been cut off. Some reconciled. Some didn't. We never heard from her parents again. One evening, 10 years after that rainy night at my door, we sat on the porch watching Harper chase fireflies. Cecilia leaned against me, head on my shoulder. Do you ever regret it? She asked softly. Never. She smiled. I almost lost everything because I was afraid. And then I got more than I ever dreamed. I kissed her temple. We both did. But questions remain. Was forgiveness too easy? Did Cecilia truly earn it? Or did time and circumstance force my hand? Was I right to let her back in, knowing the pain she'd caused? Or was love, real hard-won love, worth every scar? In the end, perhaps the only judgment that matters is our own. So I ask you, when someone who once betrayed your deepest truth returns broken and asking for redemption, do you owe them a second chance? Or does protecting your peace mean closing the door forever?